We're here to look at the games from Tuesday. NBA Cup games, 10 of them. We look at waiver wire trends. We look at the news, Steph Curry, Ben Simmons, injuries. And hopefully I don't get ejected. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and why male models? I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is, well, it's not brought to you by anybody actually. Well, let's make it brought to you by somebody. Today's episode is brought to you by the haters. Thanks for watching. It's also time for me to say thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we are available on all platforms. 10 games, a lot of stuff, a lot of blowouts, a lot of interesting rotations, a lot of weird stuff that we need to talk about. So we might as well crack in and just start going through it right now. And we'll start with some injury news, some big ones. Big Steph Curry is out with a knee sprain. They said he won't be out too long, but that tells us nothing. He had an MRI today. We don't know the results. Cool. The guess from me, and I read some stuff from some doctors, is that if it's a sprain and it's not going to be out very long, the most likely scenario is a sprained MCL. A grade 1 sprained MCL. The most blood flow goes to the MCL out of all of the ligaments you can sprain in the knee. And a mild one of that would put you at 1 to 2 weeks. So that's where we're at. So I'd say 2 weeks, MCL sprain, Steph. That's the guess. We'll find out more tomorrow. We'll talk more about the Warriors and their rotation later on. I would guess they're probably going to be without another starter in their next game, because I'm thinking that Draymond Green's going to get suspended. And we'll talk about that later on as well. Ben Simmons dealing with nerve irritation through his hip, through his back, through whatever it is. Honestly, I don't care what it is. It's just something, the same stuff flaring up again. They say it won't be too long. They've ruled him out the next 3 games. Am I going to be put into one of those positions where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't? Like, if I believe them, it's not going to be too long and say 3 games, then that's cool. But I don't believe them. But what if he does come back in 3 games and I say, well, they literally told you that it would only be short, and then you said he's out for a month? I'm going to lean towards he's out for a month plus, but I don't know. We're in that scenario. We'll talk more about the replacements of Simmons and the folly or fallacy that can surround that when we look at the Nets game later on today. Out of nowhere, Darius Garland is out for the Cavs on Wednesday with a neck issue. Isaac Okoro remains out. So they're going real thin, man. Like, Karis LeVert's going to have to play a ton. Strus, Mitchell, and probably Craig Porter? Because they can't run Milk out there. Ty Jerome's out. They can't run Rubio out there. So it's going to have to be Craig Porter, I'm guessing, with maybe some Sam Merrill in there. Yeah. And then Alex Len diagnosed with a high ankle sprain. That's going to keep him out. That's months. That's 6 to 8 weeks, I would guess. Maybe longer. Why that's important is Trey Lyles is out again. So no Lyles, no Len. So it's going to have to be McGee into that zombie front court rotation. And just as I hit record here, DeMar DeRozan has been ruled out of Wednesday's game for a personal issue. He will be back for their next game on Friday, but he's out. So do they start DeRozan? Do they start Pat Williams at the 3? Not DeRozan. Do they start Caruso? Do they start Pat Williams at the 3? More minutes for Craig. More for Dosunmu, I'm guessing, because there are other guys. It's Terry Taylor. It's Dalen Terry's out anyway. It's Amarul Batim. It's Justin Lewis. It's Julian Phillips. Like, it's nobody. Right? I think we're going to see Williams' minutes bump up and maybe make him a stream guy. But that's where we're at with those little news things. Hopefully before the end of this show, I get a Steph Curry update and I can give you more information about what the actual injury is. Let's look at some waiver wire most added players. Number 1 is Bilal Coulibaly, who is up 28%. He should be rostered. It's going to be iffy. There's going to be shooting nights that are whack. It is going to have nights where the minutes get Wes Unseld all over the place, but we add him. Skylar Mays, he's the one who knocks on fantasy rosters apparently. Up 23%, needs to keep coming up, at least until Brogdon returns. It won't last long term. Remember that? It won't last long term. But for now, it's good. Cameron Reddish up 23%. We'll assess that one after the Lakers game today, but I'm on the fence with that. I'm not fully buying it. Jaime Jaquez up 16%. He did not start today, which wasn't a surprise, but he played the entirety of the fourth quarter. He's a borderline 12-team sort of streamer to me. Hachimura up 14%. Again, we'll assess that in the Lakers section later on. But LeBron returned, so Hachimura went back to the bench. And the last one is Bismack Biyombo, up 12%. Took a while, and then people added him on the day that Xavier Tillman returns. So the cashier was back today, and we're going to really dig in to see how that minute split looked in that game. The most dropped players over the last 24 hours. Number one is the pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy! Yep, drop, easy. Goga Badadze down 8%. Not sure why you would have dropped him when they played today, but that's okay. He's a fringy guy. Lonnie Walker down 8%. Yeah, only 20 minutes in today's game. He's not really a 12-team guy. Jordan Hawkins down 7%. Well, we'll talk about that one later on. He did get benched and then went crazy, so we'll talk about that later on. Christian Wood down 7%, 100% behind that. And KCP down 7%. I didn't really think that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope would be dropped in as many leagues, but I get it. In points leagues, you don't roster him. In category leagues, he is on the fence, and he's just a low-end guy with very, very limited upside. Is the best way I think that I would categorize old mate Kentavious. Today's episode is brought to you by our partners at eBay Motors, and they have teamed up with me and this podcast, Locked On Fantasy Basketball, to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for daily selections and whatever it is you're doing there or scouting the waiver wire, each week we're going to look at some players guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who I have picked for the eBay Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Pick of the Week. I talked about two guys earlier today. One of those was Bilal. One of those was Skylar Mays. Let's go to some other point guards. Let's go to Keyonte George in Utah. Still rostered nowhere, really. Really low percentage. I don't think they're taking that job away from him anytime soon. And I just think he needs to be on rosters. Like Bilal, like a lot of young players, it's going to be rocky. There are going to be shooting problems at times for Keyonte, but the Jazz aren't particularly good. They've given him the job now, and let's just see where it goes. And I think he is worth grabbing just to see what happens. Will that help you win your fantasy championship? I don't know. But eBay Motors knows a championship team and knows that it's about each player being a perfect fit, and that's the same with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure that your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber and not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to US customers. Eligible items apply. Well, eligible items only, actually, and exclusions apply. Okay, so that actually should bring us into just looking at the games. Yeah, it does. So let's go in the first game of the day. We have got the old mate Indiana Pacers with a big victory there over the Philadelphia 76ers. So is there anything that's interesting or exciting about this Pacers box score? Let's talk about the good stuff, because Tyrese Haliburton's rocking, man. This guy has not had a turnover in the last two games. He had another 15 assists here, 33, 7, and 15, 2 steals, a block, 7 triples, 61 from the field, 80 from the line, just absolutely dominating stuff on 21 usage. There were people that questioned him being not only a first-round pick, but like a top 5 fantasy pick, and I would say that he's returning pretty good value there. Bruce Brown had a trip to the locker room and returned, played 36 minutes. Like, fine. Nothing super exciting. 14, 5, and 3 with a steal. I do still think he's a 12-team category hold, and a 12-team points probably drop. And we finally got a good game out of Obi Toppin. 37 minutes for the big fella, 27 and 6 with 80% shooting and a block. Sick. Awesome. I would not rush to add him. I don't trust Rick Carlisle's rotations. I've also seen 11 games in a row where Toppin doesn't play anywhere near this. This one just worked out really, really well. So they also played a little bit smaller at times because all of the big men were in foul trouble or injured. Jalen Smith suffered an injury, and the way they worded it was pretty weird. They was like, yeah, we've determined he's got a head injury, And out of caution, we're taking him to the hospital. Okay. Hopefully he's okay. That doesn't sound good, though. That screams concussion. And normally if it's a concussion, you're not going to the hospital straight away like that. And I know they said out of abundance of caution, but that's an abundance, man. That's a big-ass abundance. So I'd be a little worried. Hopefully he's okay. And then, of course, Isaiah Jackson got in foul trouble and Miles Turner was in foul trouble. So Turner played just 19 minutes. He ended up fouling out 17-3 with a 1-1, but overall the numbers are okay. And Jackson had 7 and 9 with a block in his 17 minutes. But this is just part of the problem with this team is the rotations are all over the shop. Like, remember old mate Ben Mathurin when I said, yeah, I think we can drop him, and then he went crazy, and then he's been dreadful ever since? 16 minutes, 8 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks. Drop him. He will have bigger games. He will have better games. There's not enough consistency with him. Bud Hield, 2 points in 29 minutes. Is he a drop? In a points league? Sure. Yeah, go for it. Category league? Maybe. Like in a 10-team cat, I'd be okay moving on. And the other thing that happened, interestingly, is they went away from Andrew Nembhard. Remember Andrew Nembhard? Still of the second round last season. They loved him. They were starting him. Now they're playing TJ McConnell over him. Nembhard played under 10 minutes in a game they won against the best team in the East. 2 points, 4 assists in 10 minutes, while Timothy John had 11, 3 and 3 in 13 minutes. This is important for deeper leagues. Because if McConnell's in the rotation and Nembhard is out, which I don't know for sure, but that's where it's heading, then he becomes a deeper league option, TJ McConnell. But this rotation's all over the shop. 37 minutes for Toppin, McConnell playing, 19 for Turner, 9 for Nembhard, 15 for Mathurin. It's not going to happen every game. It's all over the shop. For the Sixers, where there was no Batum, who was replacing Oubre, and so it was Covington, and he played bench minutes. 16 minutes, 2 points, 1 block. I think you can move on. It was a good opportunity to stream. We thought they maybe go to KJ Martin. They didn't. They could go to Daniel House. They didn't. They just played 28 minutes of Pat Beverly. So yeah, we move on from Covington in that scenario. Marcus Morris also got dusted off for 18 minutes and 2 points. That's sick. While Embiid had 39, 12 and 6 and Maxey had 27, 4 and 5. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was right to tell you to hold on to DeAnthony Melton because it's one game, right? But it was one very good game. 30 points, 4 threes, 62%, 10 of 10 from the line. He is not this good. Don't get me twisted. He's not this good. But you still need to have DeAnthony Melton. When we go through and look at this stuff, it's not on a game-by-game basis. It's on a long-term thing. And when you see someone shooting 30%, even if he's only a 43% guy, you know there is a big, big improvement coming. And then it will settle back down. The best thing I see out of this line, not that he went 10 of 10 from the line. That's fake. He's not going to do it, Melton. 62 from the field, also 100% fake. Not going to be a 67% three-point shooter. Unreal. It's not going to happen. But he played 35 minutes. That is intriguing. Now, did he only play 35 minutes because the shot went in for once? Perhaps. Perhaps. Melton's a must-roster 10 and 12 category league player. Absolute must. Must. The thick Hogsman had a trip to the locker room due to a concussion evaluation, but he was fine. 22 and 7 for Tobias Harris, and not much else. Not much else going on there. Let's go to the second game. Your Miami Heat and your Charlotte Hornets. Strong game from I was going to say, I don't know if it was a strong game, because the Hornets normally run out a bad team, and they had one of the worst lineups you'll ever see out there, and the Heat win by, 6? So, yeah, strong game by, 111 to Miami, 105 to Charlotte. Duncan Robinson, 36 minutes, 18, 8 and 5, 4 threes. That is a 12-team league guy. While Tyler Hero is out, he is the guy. And then Huckes, the other one, had 17 and 5. Shot 62%, played 33 minutes, including the entirety of the fourth quarter. It does help, very clearly, that Kyle Lowry played 15 minutes because he had 3 fouls in the first 6 minutes of the game. And it's always great when you take somebody off. Let me know if you know where this is going. When you take somebody off to, save them from fouling out, and in the end, you foul them out anyway because he had 4 fouls and he played 15 minutes. And he went scoreless. Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the league. But this stuff happens all the time. You saved him from limiting his minutes by limiting his minutes. What's the point? 0, 1, and 2 for Lowry on one shot. He still remains a 12-team league guy. But that obviously did help Richardson get 30+ and Huckes get 30+. I don't think Jaime is necessarily a must-roster 12-team league guy. No problem with you having him. Idris Adebayo had 21 and 11, 4 assists and a block. Really good numbers for him across the board. He's been awesome. And I think Haywood Highsmith, it is up and down, but 33 minutes, 12 and 4, 5 steals, 2 blocks, 2 triples. That's bloody good. Now, they were playing nobody, but that's very good. And the only guy who's coming for the minutes is Caleb Barton. Whenever we get any sort of update on that injury, he'll be sick. So I think that it's worth having Highsmith on a roster. He's going to be up and down. There's no question about that. But he is worth having, I reckon, at this point. Kevin Love continues to play over Tom Bryant. Very interesting. Even with Kyle Lowry in foul trouble, even with Tyler Hero out, Drew Smith played 3 garbage time minutes. For the Hornets, they were without Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller, Ntilikina, Cody Martin, James Bouknight. So, they trotted out a starting lineup with Ball, Maladon, PJ Washington, the God of Hammers, JT Thor, and Mark Williams. Melo played 39 minutes, minutes restriction gone. 28, 6, 11, 3 steals, 4 threes. Shot poorly, but he's playing well. Like he's doing some good stuff. PJ had 32 and 6 with 6 triples. Now, it would behoove you to try and do a sell high on PJ before Miles Bridges comes back. But let me just put it out there now. It's not going to work. No one's going to buy it. So many factors went into this game. Great shooting, giant usage, no Hayward, Rozier, Bridges, or Miller. Try it, but also it's not going to happen. The God of Hammers had 5 points in 28 minutes, and Teo had 2 points in his 23. But let's talk about Mark Williams, who 11 and 7, a steal, 100% shooting. Who's going all right? Midway through the third quarter, they're looking pretty good numbers. He did miss a couple of free throws in a row there, and I think he had a weird turnover in that period as well, like an offensive 3 seconds or something along those lines. And then he just didn't play for the final 16 minutes of this game. So when we look at the 23 minutes there and the 25 to Big Dick Nick, who had 10 and 12, good numbers, and Nick was 6 of 6 from the line. Richards is a solid stream guy and a nice 14-team league player. But that's pretty weird. Yeah, the guy that they think is their starting center of the future and didn't miss a shot and had 11 and 7 was doing okay. Wasn't great. He's doing okay, but just didn't play him at all. And Richards played, I think, 16 consecutive minutes. So that's a little strange to me. So I don't know what all those rotations were about or why we got what we did. 29 minutes for Bryce McGowan's 12 points with 3 threes. But Haywood and Bridges is definitely back next game. Haywood and Miller might be back, and that's going to change this rotation back around pretty obviously. Today's episode is also brought to you by pronunciation legends iBot. Thanksgiving is a big holiday. Big holidays mean big family and big family get-togethers. But you don't have to spend all that money on the Thanksgiving spread without getting something in return. With iBot, you can get your turkey and all of your sides for free. Free? How do they do that? Well, in November, for the 4th year in a row, iBot is giving 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast. It sounds made up, but it isn't. So you just add the offers in the app to redeem them for everything that you need to make your Thanksgiving feast complete. All you have to do is shop at your favorite retailers, and then you just upload the bloody receipt, and we're good. They give you cash back into your account, into your PayPal, through gift cards, not bonus points, which in the end up being worthless. Real cash back on your Thanksgiving purchases. So, download the Ibotta app now and use the code LOCKED, and you get 100% cash back, 100% cash back on Thanksgiving dinner starting in November. Go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use the code LOCKED. That's IBOTTA, Ibotta, in the Google Play or the App Store, and use the code LOCKED. Next game. The Atlanta Hawks beat the Pistons 126-120. Trae Young was out. No status on Trae for tomorrow with the birth of his child. And that meant that DeJounte Murray was able to run the show, and he did it fantastically. 32, 5, and 10 with 3 steals, 52% shooting, 9 of 9 from the line. We've seen this a lot of times. DeJounte is nerfed when he plays with Trae Young most of the time. Trae Young is out. DeJounte Murray's numbers go up. It's a pretty simple formula. Good numbers from him, good usage from him. It won't be like this every game. He's on a nice little hot streak. He's shooting the 3-ball amazingly well outside of today. And good numbers. Great. Capella had 8 and 7 with 3 blocks and 2 steals, while Jalen Johnson had 16 and 5 with a steal and a block. And it was also solid enough from Saddiq Bey. Now, Bey was quiet in the first half, but then he remembered that it was a revenge game. So he had 19 points in 27 minutes with 2 steals and a block. Solid from Saddiq, but he remains a streamer, same as DeAndre Hunter, who had 16, 5, and 5, but some rough shooting. Bogdanovic was the guy that started, which was a little surprising to me, but he started next to Murray. 34 minutes, 17, 3 and 3. Just rough shooting, but otherwise pretty good numbers, and he does deserve to be on a 12-team roster. While Okongwu had 21 minutes, 8 and 9. Onyeka remains a 12-team must-roster category player, but not a points league must-roster player. You can have him if you're just waiting for a trade, but otherwise you don't. And in category leagues, you do. You just hold him. For the Pistons side, no Duran, Bogdanovic, Harris, Morris, Livers. Let's just quickly start with Marcus Sasser, who is on the way out of the rotation. 0 points in 8 minutes. This is the worry that we had. That a lot of the thought was, well, not a lot. Some of the thought was, well, Sasser's pushing into a bigger role. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And my thing was, it's not going to happen with everyone coming back. And he's done. He's cooked. He's dropped. Easy drop. Easy. Killian Hayes' minutes are down as well with players returning. He was still serviceable. 8, 3 and 5, 1 steal, 2 blocks. I don't think I would bother holding on because Alec Burks continues to be a key part. Now, normally he's a massive plus-minus guy. Unfortunately, today he was their worst player, minus 16. But still had 16, 2 and 5 with 4 threes. The low minutes make him a harder guy to be super excited about, but he is streamable at least. Marvin Bagley played 30 minutes. Now, usually they hadn't been going to him that much, even when he starts. They'd been closing with Stewart. But Isaiah Stewart suffered a little bit of an injury. He went to the locker room, he came back, he played about an extra 2 minutes after that, and then he never returned. Just 10 points in 19 minutes for Stewart, while Bagley had 22 and 11. Good numbers from Bags. If Stewart and Duran are out, then Bagley is worth streaming. Asar Thompson was really poor on the weekend with the shooting game. He had 16 rebounds or nothing else, but then he just dominated. This is an unbelievable line. 21, 8 and 5, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 75% shooting. Continues to just put up outstanding numbers. What an absolute steal he's been on draft day. What else is there? Kevin Knox got 29 minutes. Sure, yeah, all right, no worries. That's largely because of Stewart's injury. Yeah, 12 points. He was all right, deeper league guy. And then Ivy sits at 21 minutes. I don't see Ivy being 12-team worthy. 11, 5 and 5 is fine. But they are showing absolutely no interest, even though they're losing literally every game. Like 7 games in a row they've lost. They just don't want to give any minutes to Ivy. 11, 5 and 5. And I'm not sure it gets better when Bogdanovic or Harris or Morris return. It's really hard to suggest holding on to Ivy. It's not hard for me to suggest to hold on to Cade Cunningham, but let's get a couple of things straight. He was bad again with the shooting. The shooting has been horrendous. I think he's like on 5 threes out of his last 50 attempts or something. Maybe it's 40 attempts. It's really bad. He had 9 points here, which of course is terrible. 29% shooting is dreadful. He did have 12 assists and 3 steals, so that helps, but he didn't get to the line at all. Now, he started out the season with gigantic usage, big assist numbers, started getting to the line, was hitting them really high rate, and was hitting his threes at 40% for the first 4 or 5 games. And it's fallen way off. I still do believe in Cade, but I am tempering expectations. Maybe he's never going to be, not even a good shooter. Maybe he's never going to be even an average shooter because it continues to be bad. Now, there are obviously some complicating factors with some of the players around him, and he gets so much attention, and he's running everything most of the time. But at some point, there is no more excuse with that. The shots just have to go in. I expected stuff to improve as he was playing his 90th NBA game, and we'd see an increase in efficiency. And I'm not ruling it out. There are 70 games to go this season. But it's been after the first week, it's been pretty bad with the shooting. Continues to look terrible, and it just needs to be better. It just does. I'm not giving up on him. 12 assists, 3 steals is still really good. And there is still something in there for a guy that's averaging 23 points a game. Right? That's still really good. But there are a lot of issues that do need to be cleaned up. Really, obviously, they have been bad, and he hasn't shown any of the necessary improvement in most of those areas. Let's go to the next one. The Spurs, the Thunder, ass-kicking. 123 Oklahoma City, 87 for the Spurs. The Spurs were without Keldon Johnson and Trey Jones, so they started my man, Julian Champagnie. 31 minutes, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, 3 blocks, 29% shooting. That's bad shooting, obviously. It is very strange to me that they would keep him on ice so that Osman and McDermott can play. He is just a name to watch. Don't add based on this because there's no guarantee that, Keldon's going to remain out. But interesting that they just uncorked him in this game. Sohan had 9, 3, and 5. His last couple of games have been better. He remains a 12-team guy barely. While Vassell had 12, 3, and 4, he struggled. Wembanyama, only 8 points, and his field goal percentage really is bad at the moment. 28% for Vic with 2 blocks and 14 rebounds, and Zach Collins 13 and 8. Overall, this team just got spanked. And we got 26 Malachi Branham minutes, which is useless. Like, to me, Champagny is quite a good prospect for this team. You know, I talk about him quite a bit. I just want to see them give him a regular rotation role. Hopefully there's some eyes opened here. I thought he did pretty well. For the Thunder, they only had to go half pace, so Shea had 28, 6, and 5 with 7 steals in 28 minutes. Yeesh. Even a great game from Josh Giddey, 18, 7, and 7 with 2 blocks for the Slob Wizard, while Kaysen Wallace had 9 and 5 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. An absolute elite defensive stats guy, Kaysen. We know the Thunder have the Thursday, Saturday, Sunday combo that no one else does, and Wallace is probably going to be your best option there. The Bronco scored 31 last game. He had 11, 2, and 3 here. Again, just sort of hovering, like he's been all right. Well, Lou Dort, this is the Lou Dort that I dubbed Midwest Dylan Brooks. This is the Lou Dort that should have been nowhere near 12-team leagues. And that imposter that we saw for 8 games to begin the season was confusing. 6 points, 3 rebounds, a steal, a block, 33% in 24 minutes. He was a plus 22, as all their guys were. I still don't believe that Dort is going to remain as a 12-team league player. You can hold, but we are seeing the drop-off come. It's happening. Kenrich Williams, he's back. 15 minutes for the Oklahoma City Mudflap with 9 points, and then, yeah, just a lot of blowout stuff going on there. Oh, Chet had 9 and 7 with 2 steals and a block. Not his best game by any stretch, but obviously not terrible. Next up, another blowout. The Nets get it done over the Magic, 124-104. Let's talk Orlando first. Joe Ingles, wow, 11, 3, and 4 with 3 triples. Didn't miss a shot. Cool. We don't really care about that for most of fantasy. Cole Anthony's minutes went back up while Anthony Black played just 19. There is just no reason for me to get excited about Anthony Black in 12-team leagues. No reason for me to get super excited about Cole, who had 10 points on 20%, while Jalen Suggs had an injury to his arm, but he did return. Then we got the old Suggs back, the 31% Suggs back. Sound like I was rapping then. You don't want me to do that. 10 points, 2 3. Oh, that's one of the biggest Richies you'll ever see. And Richie Benner there for Suggsy. 2 threes, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. And a block, 31% shooting, good numbers from Suggs, apart from the team worst, minus 27. Flaming Mo Wagner played 21 minutes for 11 and 6 with 4 assists. That's okay for 12s. But Dadze the Dart had 14 and 3 for 24 minutes. It's also okay. Well, Wagner had, that's Franz Wagner, 21, 8 and 5. And Paulo Banchero had been playing well, been shooting well, but did not do that here. 19, 6 and 3, 2 steals and a block, but he brought defensive stats and he hit 4 threes. Unfortunately, just 3 of 6 from the line is a little bit annoying, but he had been playing well. And we'd seen John Isaac's minutes push up, and we did not. We did not see them go up here. They went down. 12 minutes, 3 points. He did have 2 steals and a block, but until he can play 20 minutes, I just don't care in a 12-team league. You can stream him, whatever, but there's no long-term path to big minutes, and even when there is a short-term path, he doesn't get them. And that's frustrating. For him, I'm sure, and his body and everyone. For the Nets, no Ben Simmons. Now, before we talk about this box score, let me explain to you one of the biggest follies that happens in fantasy. We got Ben Simmons news today. So people look at that and go, well, this is what happens without Ben Simmons. Last game, there was no Ben Simmons. And Spencer Dinwiddie had 12, 3, and 4. What? Exactly the same scenario as what there is today. But because you heard the news today, not saying you particularly, but you, that one, you, this is directed to you. Because we heard the news today on this with the Nets, you'll see this and go, well, this is it. This is what happens. Dinwiddie's unlocked. Bang! We're off. We're running. 29, 5, and 9 with 5 threes, ignoring that the exact same situation occurred in their last game, and he had 12, 3, and 4. It's very clear that this is a positive for Dinwiddie, right? There's no question about that, but this is not the norm. This is not the expectation. This is just a very good game, and he should be rostered, clearly, but that's not what it's about. 29 minutes for Cam Johnson. Him and Bridges were left on the bench for way too long in the first half, and they just couldn't get him in with no stoppage, so Vaughn didn't call a timeout. That's why their minutes are low. 29 minutes for Johnson, 20 points, 3 threes, and 3 steals, while Bridges had 21, 5, and 4 with 4 steals. Big games for both of those guys. Really seeing some production spread around without Cam Thomas jacking up 74 shots. Nicky Claxton, only 21 minutes. He had 4 really early fouls, 8 and 6 with 1 steal and 2 blocks. And you want to talk about confusing coaching? Why is Day'Ron Sharpe playing 24 minutes now? Like, bro, Nick Claxton was out for 3 weeks and you combine this guy for 20 minutes across 10 games. And now Claxton's back. He's in foul trouble. Oh, what are we going to do? We don't have a center. Let's put Day'Ron out there. It's what frustrates me. I get things wrong all the time. And despite what, again, this is dedicated to the haters. Despite what the haters will tell you, and they'll tell you that I never admit when I'm wrong, I'll tell you I'm wrong all the time. And I got Day'Ron Sharpe wrong. But it frustrates me when the process of getting it wrong is then proven right weeks later. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. 11 and 10 for Sharpe. He's an interesting player, but I cannot put any trust in any of this. Well, Finney-Smith didn't have foul trouble, had a chance for extra minutes and didn't get them. You can drop DFS in 12s, and Royce had 13 points in 34 minutes, the old Basmati man. Lonnie Walker, just 11 points in 20 minutes. This is who he is. He does not need to be rostered in 12s. I think very clearly does not need. While Dennis Smith shot not well, but he's going to be a good assists and steals option while Simmons is out. 19 minutes, 5 assists, 2 steals. That is what he does, and that is what he did. Let's talk about the next one. It is the Dallas Mavericks in yet another blowout, except this time, they didn't do the blowing out. It was the Pelicans. For the Mavs, it was a solid enough Derek Lively game. Just only 21 minutes though, but 4 and 9. But honestly, it was such a blowout that no one did anything. Doncic played 26 minutes for 16 points on 31% shooting. Irving played 26 minutes and had 17, 2 and 6. And I don't think we need to take much away from this. It was all right from Derek Jones. Grant Williams is a 12-team drop. Tim Hardaway had 17 points. But look, all you need to do is look at the minutes. Like you saw, Rashawn Holmes played 12 minutes. That's how much of a blowout it was. So there's really nothing to be taken, I think, from this Dallas side. On the Pelicans side, massive Herb Jones game. Returned, started, 31 minutes, 19, 4 and 4, 5 steals and 2 blocks. Ingram, talked about him on the Bilo show today. 25, 9 and 7 with 2 steals. And we said he hadn't had 1 steal all season. There you go. 2 of them here today. Shot the ball well. Hit his 2s, didn't hit his 3s, hit his free throws on the way back. And Jordan Hawkins moved to the bench but played 33 minutes. 25, 6 and 3 with 5 threes. But as we've seen with him, it is a rocky road. There's a lot of up and downs with the shooting. You can have him, but you don't have to. And the fact that his role is on the bench means there's going to be some nights he plays 27 and some he plays 33 and some nights he shoots 24% and some nights he shoots 50%. That's what's going to happen. You can have him, but you don't have to. Good minutes from Najee Marshall, 16 and 4 with 2 blocks. He's one of those guys that I'd need to see 30 out of him for him to be a guy that I'd want to add in 12s. While Zion, the struggles continued. 19, 7 and 5, 53%. Now, for a lot of people, that's a solid game. And at least he had 2 steals as well. But, man, like bad from the line, not hitting 60% from the field, not pumping in 27 points. The buy low continues there. Dyson Daniels started, had 10, 2 and 6 with 3 steals, and that's what he's going to give you. Some steals, some assists, some rebounds at times. Him and Hawkins are going to be streamable while that position is open. But I think trying to guess which one it's going to be each night in terms of who provides the value. Like Hawkins might start next game. That is totally possible. And it's just going to be up and down and back and forward. And a lot of the time, that's just so hard to guess which way it's going to go that you're often just better leaving it on the side and grabbing a little bit more secure long-term value would be probably the better way that I would phrase that. Let's get into the next one. It is the Utah Jazz and the Portland Trailblazers. The Jazz win at 115-99. Let's start with Portland. Dominating had 22 and 10. Cool. At least he took more shots in this one. Still never gets to the free throw line, but that's okay. Jeremy Grant, only 27 minutes. This was a pretty comfortable victory. He's just... Man, his lines are so annoying. 26 points, which is good. 3 threes, which is good. He just doesn't do anything else. 2 rebounds, 1 assist. He had a block, which is good. 59 from the field is good. He continues to be, I think, pretty frustrating. Skylar Mays, this is a guy you need to roster. You only had 6 points, I know. But 5 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 blocks is a must-roster player for now. And Jabari Walker finally woke up. 12 and 8 with 2 steals and a block. They made a change to the starting group. I don't really think it changed anything, though. Because Tamani Kamara played 26 minutes, had 9 and 5 with 2 threes and 2 blocks, which is fine. He replaced Matisse Thybulle, who played 22 minutes, and that's basically exactly what they were doing before they switched positions. Thybulle had 6 points with 2 threes. So I don't think you rush to add Kamara. Deeper leagues, sure, the same stuff. 14, 16 teams, that's all you do. Not much changes. Duop-Reath, only the 10 minutes as the backup, which is frustrating after his last game, but that's still a deeper League One. And then we had Jamari Bouye, who had 1 rebound and missed all 5 of his shots. Cool. He had a little moment in that last game, but that's just a deep leagues thing. Now, you know what I'm going to say here, I think. Let's try it. You got to roster Keyonte George. 15 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 threes, 5 of 5 from the line, 44% from the field. Still a low usage player. And those 5 of 5 free throws, I think he had those in about the first 4 minutes. But you got to roster him. He's a must-roster player. I'll try and phrase it a different way. If he's not on your roster, he should be. If you see him on your waiver wire, you should click add. I don't know how. Am I going to die on this hill? God, I hope not. I hope no one's going to come and murder me because I said add Keyonte George, or I have a heart attack from the stress of adding Keyonte George. But I feel pretty confident about it. I've been pretty confident about it all season. And yeah, just add him. That is my recommendation. Of course, nobody ever has to do anything that I say. No one in my family does, so why should you do it? Just, let me refresh that. That's one of those tired old jokes that people make. No one listens to me at home. It's not really true. I boss everyone around. They just listen to everything that I say at all moments. That's also not true. We have a very functional household. Better game from Colin Sexton. Sort of came out of nowhere. 28 minutes, 13, 4 and 7, 2 steals and a block. I honestly don't care. I'm not adding him based on this, but that's good. Well, Clarkson's on an absolute rolling heater. 30 minutes. No, not 30 minutes. 33 minutes. 30 points on 68% with 2 steals. When he's cranking like this, yeah, just roll with it. It does help him, it seems, that Kessler's not there for whatever reason, or that Taylor Horton-Tucker is not starting, because Taylor Horton-Tucker is not a starting caliber player. He had 4, 3, and 3. He's still being rostered in leagues. According to our metric, 23% of 12-team leagues have him on a roster. Hopefully they've all gone away for a lovely trip and have no internet access. You can drop Taylor Horton-Tucker. 21 and 9 for Markkanen. While Abaji, the 2 steals are nice for Abaji. The 8 rebounds are nice. 6 points, 26 minutes. Just leave him for like 14 teamers or 16. You don't need to worry in 12s. And this is why I was and still remain interested in Kelly Olynyk. 12 and 12 with 3 assists and 2 steals. The 24 minutes is nice. The production is good. He still, I think, should be on a 12-team league roster. And one of the most common questions I got over the last couple of days, hey, is it George or Mays? And the assessment remains the same. Mays probably outproduces George in this week. But I don't want you to be playing just for this week. George is going to have staying power long term, where it's unlikely that Mays does. So yes, Mays probably did outproduce George. 10 assists, 2 blocks. That's really good. George was still solid though. George's is going to persist, much like the George Sasser conversations. That's how we're trying to look here. And the further we get into the season, once we hit January, once we hit February, we don't care about that. Well, what do we do now? What happens now? And that's more about how we look at things. But for now, this point right here, lose a little bit off the top if you want. Just George should be rostered. Could be wrong. Very easily could be wrong. He might turn into a pumpkin. He might get hurt. Taylor Horton-Tucker might be good and take back the role. But at this point, the evidence would suggest that Keyonte is the option. All right, let's go through the last 3 games now. We'll go to the Clippers and the Nuggets. Pretty close one. This one, Denver wins at 111-108. Better signs from the Clippers, but still some weird stuff. Let's talk about Paul George. Ever since I put him under the lens and we had to look and see, well, was Harden actually impacting him? And I determined he wasn't. He's been great. 35, 7 and 3, 3 steals, 4 threes, 52% shooting, 5 of 5 from the line. Amazing. Fantastic. We love that. James Harden was better. 21, 2 and 4 in 35 minutes. That's good too. But Kawhi? What's going on? 5 steals is great. We take it. But only 14 shots, 36% shooting, 15, 2 and 2. He's taking a gigantic step back. 22 usage for Kawhi. I know they got close, but they still haven't won. They lost to the Grizzlies. Tyronn Lue. There is a very, very easy answer here. It's a very easy answer. You just can't have Westbrook in that starting group. Maybe it's Harden, I don't know. But you can't have Westbrook there. Westbrook still took 12 shots and Kawhi took 14, and he only played 24 minutes. They're starting to work it out. Westbrook cannot be there. But they asked Ty Lue before the game, and there was whispers of this. I don't know where I heard it, which is definitely troubling. The whispers was that Ty Lue will not bench Russell Westbrook, so the front office might have to take matters into their own hands and cut him because Lue just won't bench him, which is honestly insane. And we know there's been some issues between Lue and the front office. It's debate whether he's going to be on this team or remain coaching and all this sort of stuff. His unhealthy obsession with Marcus Morris. Westbrook doesn't make sense. He doesn't. I'm not blaming this loss on Russell Westbrook. I'm not. It's how it all fits together. And if Lue doesn't bench Westbrook, then I don't know what the hell goes on. And that makes me worried for Kawhi and his value. I would be buying low on Kawhi, but it's very strange. Terrence Mann played 28 minutes and took one shot. I wonder if that would work in the starting lineup. He had 6 rebounds and 5 assists, while Norman Powell had 14 points in 25. We don't need to roster those guys in 12s. While Zubac's only 26 minutes, I'm a bit surprised that they didn't play him more, considering they have no other center. And on the other side, a big guy was carving the shit out of him. So I don't really get it. Not that Zubac stops Jokic, but who else was? Zubac's 9 and 13, which is all right, but it's nothing great. It's still a massive work in progress. When the Harden trade went down, I said I think Westbrook is going to end up being droppable. 8, 6, and 3 in 24 minutes, 33%. I'm not 100% sure that we are dropping him, but I still remain 100% sure that he will be droppable, and that I just don't see how it coexists. I don't. For the Nuggets, Jokic, 32, 16, and 9. Shot poorly, 35%, but big numbers nonetheless. Aaron Gordon continues a very strong run. 20 and 5 with 5 assists. You might want to look at a sell high, but I love what he's doing. Well, Reggie Jackson showing another solid game. 18, 3, and 4. And KCP played a lot of minutes, but we are very firmly in KCP is not a 12-team league player zone. 39 minutes, 9 points, 2 threes, and a steal. I don't really see what he's giving us that makes him a must-roster player. We know we're jacking him in points leagues. We jack him in 10-team category leagues. I think you're at a stage where you could move on into 12. Now, that's not to say that he wouldn't finish as 130th or 120th best player, but that doesn't really mean that much. We just want to try and cycle through and get little chunks of 1 week value of Skylar Mays at top 70 or whoever it is that steps up into a larger role because of injury. Michael Ponder Jr. had a poor night, 10 points in 34 minutes, 36% shooting, but Jalen Pickett entered the rotation. Before the game, Dr. Michael Malone said that he was looking for the second unit to put in more effort. They took Julian Strouder out, and Pickett was in. That really only matters for deeper leagues, but he's there. While Christian Brown, I wouldn't say Christian Brown's really taken any sort of step forward this season, and Peyton Watson continues to play frustratingly low minutes. The next game was a wild one. That was the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors. 2 minutes into this game, there were 3 ejections. So what happened? Klay Thompson and Jaden McDaniels, they were running down the court and sort of got tangled up with each other, bumped into each other in the middle of the court, and then grabbed onto each other's jerseys, started fighting, right? Started wrestling. Draymond flies in and puts I've been told not to call it a headlock. It's a chokehold. Puts a sleeper on him, Brutus the Barber Beefcake style. Onto Rudy Gobert. Actually, that's not true. Sorry. Let's try again. Klay and McDaniels are wrestling. Rudy Gobert comes in. Doesn't do anything egregious, but he was there. Draymond flies in. Full Brutus the Barber sleep hold onto Gobert. It doesn't fully choke him out, but Gobert ends up on the ground. Klay, McDaniels, and Draymond all ejected very clearly. Draymond's going to have to get suspended for this. Like the other two won't, but Draymond is getting suspended. Now, knowing the NBA, it'll be 1 game because they're soft as piss. And I know that's not the phrase, but I just wanted to mix it up a bit. They're weak as piss. They're soft as shit on suspensions. 1 game. Bro, come on. And I'm getting angry reacting to something that hasn't happened. I've seen Serge Ibaka and Robin Lopez punch each other in the face and get a game. Although, if you flash a gun on social media, you get 25 games. Not saying that's wrong. Just when we have violent eruptions, they don't do anything. But Draymond's going to get suspended, I'm pretty confident. They were also playing this game without Steph, and I don't really know how to judge their rotation, which we'll talk about in a second. For the Wolves, what about the buy low bump for Towns? It's pushing on. 33, 11, 5 threes and 2 steals. He took 26 shots. While Goose only took 17, Anthony Edwards. Now, Edwards had some really good passing stuff towards the end of this game. 20 points, 3 threes, 4 assists and 3 steals, but was pretty rough from the field and the line. Gobert, 9 and 13, 3 blocks. Why is he having all these games where he can't finish, like 25%? And then 83 from the line. That's the second time I remember this season where he's reversed his percentages. But he's been really good. While Conley had 13, 2 and 8 and 2 steals. And the big fella, Naz Reid, 16 minutes. That is drop territory. 16 minutes in a game without McDaniels, and the upside is only there with an injury. I think that's droppable. Kyle Anderson had 8, 4 and 3 in 27 minutes. They're both, to me, fringe 12-team players and not must-roster guys at the moment. I also think McDaniels is in that same boat. Now for the Warriors, no Steph, no Clay, no Draymond. They made a change to the starting lineup, and they brought Kevon Looney off the bench and started Dario Saric. Now, we don't really understand how that was going to work because Draymond was out straight away, and then Saric and Looney started together in the second half. The Golden State Warriors have had 3 players score 20 points in a game this season. It was Steph, and then it was 2 guys in this game. And you would never have guessed it would have been Dario Saric and Brandin Podziemski, but that's where we're at. I mentioned Podziemski as an interesting guy for deeper leagues with the injury to Steph Curry, but 39 minutes, 23, 7 and 5 on 50% shooting. I had him very high in my Dynasty rookie ranks. He's got a very interesting fantasy skill set, but struggled in Summer League, clearly. This is unbelievably intriguing. But the problem is I don't know what to make of it because Clay was out. So Podziemski started the second half, but is he just going to be an 18-minute Chris Paul backup while Steph is out? Does he take all of Moses Moody's minutes? Man, I sound like Kendrick Perkins. I'm watching Podziemski. I'm not adding him in 12s, but I'll add him in 16 or 14 maybe. That's very interesting. Saric, 21, 4 and 4 with 2 steals. Will they start him if Draymond is out? Well, the fact that John Kuminga can't even get a starting gig and they're starting Dario Saric over him means that, again, Steve Kerr is just not interested in John Kuminga. So would I add Kuminga or would I add Saric? I would very clearly, given how they're using them, I would very clearly add Saric. In this game, with no Steph, with no Draymond, and with no Clay, Kuminga had 5 points in 16 minutes and looks not very good. And Steve Kerr agrees. So Saric is the guy to try for. Looney had 2 and 12 in his 32 minutes. He's just a rebound specialist. We know this. Well, Andrew Wiggins, everything the stage was set, my guy. 9 points. He did have 3 steals, so that's a positive. 27% from the field is shocking again and played only 28 minutes. And officially, I know he's only 29, watch. Not quite. Clay is, but, we didn't get to see how washed he was going to be, considering he was ejected after 2 minutes. So keep an eye on Saric. Oh, Chris Paul, by the way, 15, 5 and 4 with 2 steals and a block. He's totally reasonable. But with everybody out, my guy, I want more. More. The problem there is that that's solid enough, but it took 36 minutes, 3 blokes being out. I do think we are going to end up dropping Chris once Steph returns. I do think we'll get to that. So overall, Moody had 11 in 14 minutes. Podziemski, really interested. Deeper leagues add. Saric, you might do it in 12s, but I'll definitely do it in 14s. But just so many more unknowns got introduced because of these stupid ejections. And we got some standout performances from Podziemski. All right, before we move on from this, there was news in the post-game press conference from Steve Kerr about Steph Curry's knee. He said the MRI was good news. They're considering it day to day, so they said maybe a couple more games. I'm still really really cautious on that. I don't think we see him this week. There'd be no reason to rush him back. We'll see. But it is great that it is good news and it's nothing super long term. Awesome. I just don't think we're going to see Steph this week. But we got that update, so that's good. The next game and the last game was the Memphis Grizzlies, the undermanned and further undermanned now Memphis Grizzlies taking on the LA Lakers. The Grizzlies lost in this game pretty early. Marcus Smart with what looked like a pretty significant ankle injury. You'd have to expect that's a couple of weeks at least. He had to be helped off by his teammates, helped off into the locker room. And then they also lost Luke Kennard, who played 6 minutes with knee soreness. So the lineups are all over the place. Still no Derrick Rose, no Ja Morant, no Brandon Clark. So we got weird lineups. And that meant that we saw Santi Aldama play at the 3. 25 minutes for Santi, 24, 5 and 4 with 2 blocks. Really good shooting night. 32 usage helps as well. Yeah. That's interesting. I'm not sure that it's a must-add scenario. They started David Roddy in the second half with Smart out, and he had 17, 3 and 3 with a Richie Beno. Really good line. But we also got like weird performances from like the big fellas back. Xavier Tillman played 22 off the bench and had 15, 2 and 2, while Biyombo played 23. Is Tillman just going to take back over starting? It is possible. And I don't know which direction to take this. I know they're bad. But what I also know is that I just don't think they want Santi to play, or Santi and Jaren to be the 4 and the 5. And there is 2 other options there. So I'd hold off a little bit on Aldama. I'd hold off on Tillman, but I wouldn't be shocked if he takes over from Biyombo. And Biyombo went scoreless and had 8 rebounds with 4 assists. Jacob Gilead, unknown player legend, played only 21 minutes in this weird game. 9 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals. I would add him. He's been starting. And with Smart out, they do need some ball handling. But who knows which direction this goes. Johnny Conchar had 6 assists in 18 minutes. Des Bain had 15 points. Like, you could make an argument that Tillman could be added, Aldama could be added, Gilead could be added, Roddy could be added. But I'm not sure any of them are going to last or be useful, even if Smart is out long term. Roddy has had opportunities before. He started games this season. He's ranked outside the top 240. Tillman's had chances and he's sucked as well. And I just don't think Aldama's going to start. So I don't really know which way to go with it. We've got 26 minutes out of Zaire Williams, but I tell you, 25% shooting's rough. But I'll tell you what didn't happen is Jaren Jackson did not get a buy low bump. Rotten performance. 8 points, 22 minutes, 2 rebounds, 1 block, 19% shooting. He is not coping well at all with this team. The absence, I don't know what hurts him more, the absence of Adams or Morant. But both of them is killing him. Yeah, just really bad. For the Lakers, LeBron returned. Only needed to play 23 minutes. They're on a back-to-back for tomorrow. 16, 9, and 6. Davis was great. 19, 11 with 6 blocks. He would have been much better had they needed to play them much in the fourth quarter. Great Austin Reeves game despite coming off the bench. 16, 12, and 7. And let's check in on a couple of the most added players of this team. One of them was Rui Hachimura, who played 24 minutes and scored 23 points. Of course, in true Rui style, there's nothing else with it. 3 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks. And he shot 80% to get there. Now, shooting 80% and having 30 usage is awesome. It's fantastic. But we definitely don't add that because you can't rely on it. And Reddish played 25 minutes, had 10 points with 3 threes. He is not a 12-team league option outside of streaming. Jackson Hayes got 21 minutes. Torian Prince had 8 points in 29. And D'Lo had 24 with 5 assists and 6 dribbles. But it was just such an easy victory against, honestly, are they the worst team in the league? They're pretty close to it. The Memphis Grizzlies. They are struggling in a very, very big way at the moment. So that will bring us in now to look at the recap of the stream of the day. And let's check out how that all went down. For 10 teams, the stream was Bogdanovic, and he had 17, 3 and 3 with 0 steals and a block. Happy with that. The 12-team category stream was Skylar Mays, the man who knocks. 6, 5, and 10 with 2 blocks. Happy with that. Your 14-team stream was the speaker, Keynote George. 15, 4, and 7 with a steal. Absolutely happy with that. We're off to a pretty rollicking start here on the stream of the day recap. And then we look at the 16-teamer, and even for a 16-teamer, this one is bad. Rob Covington, 2 points, 1 rebound, 1 steal, 1 block as a starter. And the 12-team point stream was Bismack Biyombo. I did not expect Tillman to play or Biyombo to be this bad and miss all 5 of his shots. Bro, you're not taking threes. Why are you missing them? 18.6 fantasy points for Biyombo. I think in a points league, you don't want to have to hold on to Biyombo. I would still hold in a category league, but, you know, things aren't looking the best at the moment. That'll bring us in now to do what we need to do, and that is look at the monstrous line of the night. The best performance for the day for category leagues more specifically, but it's the same for both, to be fair, because Tyrese Haliburton was amazing. 33 points, 7 rebounds, 15 assists, 0 turnovers. He's been unbelievable not all season. He's had a couple of slow games early, but he's absolutely cranking at the moment. So congratulations to you. The waiver wire line of the night, the best performer, who is available in 50% plus of leagues. And there were a couple of options for this one. In the end, we are going to go to Detroit, to Marvin Bagley III. 22 points, 11 rebounds, 75% shooting. We could have gone to Miami for a couple of guys there, but it ended up being Bagley, who is not someone we really need to look at to add, I don't believe. We can look at the young gun of the night now, the best performance from a first or second year player. I don't think, well, actually, that's what I was going to say. I don't think there's going to be too much controversy about who it is, but there are 3 interesting players it could have been. So I'll tell you that it's not Brandin Podziemski. I'll tell you that it's not Jordan Hawkins, but it is Asar Thompson. 21 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. This guy continues to be ridiculous, top 50 fantasy player, just dominating stuff. I wish we could see his brother out there. We just can't, but he is putting up some really good numbers, Asar. And then lastly, the dud of the night. Well, could I give it to Clay, who got ejected after a minute? Jaden McDaniels, Draymond Green. I could do that. It's funny to give it to Jaren Jackson, though. 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 19% shooting for Jaren as he gives us the dud of the night. Now let's finish things off by looking at the top 6 players, as we always do at this part of the show. The top 6 players for category leagues today. Number 1 was Haliburton, followed by Joel Embiid, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Big Chungus Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis, and DeJounte Murray. Your top 6 players available in 50% plus leagues. It was Bagley. The next one was Duncan Robinson and Haywood Highsmith, who are looking like 12-team stream options at the very least. Podziemski, we went on about that in depth, but when Steph returns, there's not much there, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Jordan Hawkins, maybe, but hit or miss. And then Santi Aldama, who chimed in late with some big numbers, but again, I don't really know how to view that. Considering how big they played in that lineup, how he got hot with the shooting, and Jaren played 22 minutes. Not one that I'm super rushing to grab. For points leagues, your top 6 producers today. Number 1 was Haliburton, followed by Embiid, Jokic, Gilgeous-Alexander, DeJounte Murray, and the Beatle himself, Paul George. And that, guys, will do it for me today. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app and on YouTube. Thumb it up. Leave your comments down below. I know I said Stitcher. Damn it. Thumb it up, subscribe, bells. We're done. Guys, thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.